Awesome.
Hello.
How are you? How is
I'm
your Wednesday evening so far?
It's going good. How's your Wednesday evening? Well, I mean, it's not going that great. I had an incident
That's true. You did.
that
You had an incident, and
I
I
had
was
an
just waiting. That guy is here.
Hey, that guy, I miss
You
you.
made
That's
it.
a very close friend of mine, that guy. Amber, hi.
Hello, everyone.
Another good friend of mine. I haven't
Thank you
seen you in
for
forever.
joining us on another
Yes.
epic episode of Haunted Road Trip.
Oh, this one's going to be good.
It's gonna be good.
This one's going to be good. I'm excited. So, the topic, as the title and the thumbnail both show, is haunted objects.
Ooh.
Um, hey Stacy, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Um, yeah. Oh, that was odd. Did anyone
What?
else hear that?
Here, what?
So I just said hey, and I'm not gonna say his name again, but I just said hey to the person whose name begins with an S,
Yes.
and my SIRI just popped in my ears and said, "You're welcome."
All right.
You saw Rob. Oh, you
Really?
saw really?
Now that's interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear everybody's stories. So, I am uh, very, very new to the paranormal world, and of course, had seen movies and heard of, what I think is probably one of the most famous ones, Annabelle, the
Yep.
doll,
Yep.
but hadn't really delved that much into it until I went to an antique sale at a barn.
Uh-oh. And that stirred your mind, huh?
And it just started the ball rolling a little bit. As far as, so I will tell you at this location, it was very nearby. And I had been antiquing before, but not since I'd fallen into the paranormal. And as I'm walking kind of the halls of this barn and past the different items, I'm feeling things. Um, Kind of some lighter energy, some darker energy. And I'm like, huh.
You're just feeling something.
Yeah, and not necessarily like haunted, but like all of these items, in because just the I mean anyone who's been to an antique sale or even a flea market, like that what I'm talking about. They're just completely different from each other, so random. Some of them are extremely old, some of them aren't that old, but they all have a history and they all have owners, right? Okay, absolutely. I will ask Rob how to do that. Um, Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, you're
Oh, so
welcome
anyways,
to the
haunted,
story.
yeah, haunted barn.
Yes.
So I'm getting these feels, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in particular, in a very specific area. And I want to introduce you guys to some friends that I made.
Really? Made some
There was
friends.
some adoptions that were, so I'm gonna start off with that, but I will just tell you to give you a rundown of what to expect tonight. We are going to talk about Robert the doll, yes. Annabelle, of course, we can't not talk about
Have
Annabelle.
to.
But I'm more interested in, is it always a creepy doll? And it's not. It's
No,
definitely not.
definitely not.
Kyle has an amazing story that he's going to share tonight. And then there are some haunted objects that I found when I was researching this past week that are well known, I had never heard of them, but they're not dolls and not necessarily creepy either. And so this whole topic just really makes me think. But without further ado,
All right, here we go, people. Here we go, everyone.
I know I have shared these pictures with some friends of mine already who may be watching and have had some people help name some of these, and I'm probably going to forget some of their names. But basically, I walked into this area of the barn and I felt pulled to a certain direction. And I had gone there saying, like, oh, it'd be cool if I could find a haunted doll. Because again, I hadn't been antiquing since I got into the paranormal. And lo and behold, there was a whole box, or a bin, I should say, for $20. Meet my new children.
Oh, it's a box of potentially haunted stuff.
Yeah, and they smell like mothballs.
Oh,
They've been in my house with me for about a week now. I haven't felt anything personally dark. My stomach has been upset. I know that sounds silly, but that's the only connection that I've made is that I've had like some stomach issues. Um,
Well, thank you for sharing that, Boston.
this is one of them. TMI,
All the
TMI.
viewers know that now. All right,
No, just like that, like I
got
don't
you.
know, like an unsettling feeling. So this one, I believe I've named her Sophia. But if anyone's got any names in the chat that you're feeling or something that's calling to you, with any of these, also if you are sensing any kind of, I don't know,
Vibes.
positive, negative energies, I really like her. She is, um, okay. Chris did tell me I can't be weird about the dolls.
Um, how old are the dolls? I know there's a whole bunch of different ones. Is there any kind of age?
Yeah,
Like
so I have no idea. I can tell that they all came from someone who clearly had collected them. Because that's really the only thing that the antique seller knew was
okay,
that they had all come from the one person.
one
So,
person.
yeah, and I don't know if it's possible to get more history, but I definitely am interested in looking up because some of them, like this one here, they're made of different things, you can tell. Some of them are plastic. The first one I showed you is porcelain
Okay,
and her body's stuffed.
okay.
And she looks very, very old just based on the threading. This one looks extremely old. The level of detail, they've got
Mm-hmm.
her legs under here, and it's mostly wood and porcelain.
Okay.
And she kind of sits.
All
You getting
right.
vibes from this one? Why is that one making you,
I don't know. I'm
you're
not
not a
sure
fan
yet.
of her? Okay. Hey, Dippity Doo, welcome. I'm introducing everybody to my new friends.
How many
Um,
new friends do you have in there, by the way?
Nala, Mulan backwards. I like that. I mean, I've
Because
got a few.
okay,
We won't be doing this all night. Don't worry. You look very uncomfortable.
they're like right here. It's like
This is Miguel.
okay,
This is Chris's least favorite. He doesn't like this one for some reason. It does say Columbia on the back, and this one, other than like the hips, is completely porcelain.
okay.
So there's no plastic in Miguel. And I
Yeah,
assume because
it's that one's a little that one's creepy. I'm not gonna lie. I can see where
yeah,
Chris would be creepy with that.
Chris doesn't like that one. Hi, 71KJC. Welcome. This is one of my favorites, and it's just the detail of so now we're starting to see some where, and Miguel had this too, where the face is completely painted on.
Okay,
She is.
you got quite an assortment there.
That's what I like about it is that they're all from much different. Like I think that these two may be from the same time era.
Yeah.
Um, I named her Martha. And then let's see. So this one, I think I can't tell how old it is just because the colors. Like I don't think it's that old, but I know that it's based on a much older doll style. But the colors are really vibrant in the stitching. But this is all
Um,
hand sewn.
that guy says definitely a
A
Nancy,
Nancy, a Nancy.
and Stacy
Count the
says
sticks on
yeah.
Miguel. All right,
We got to go back now.
gotta
Hello,
go back
Melissa.
to. Hey, Melissa, welcome. Meet Miguel. All right. So
All right, Boston's gonna have
Stacy
to take
wants
her
me to
shoes
count.
off to count these.
One, two, three. I have 9 sticks on Miguel and 1 mango, I believe, in his arm. Ooh, that guy was close with 8.
Ain't bad.
8's actually my lucky number, so I was hoping it was 8, but it's 9. We're just meeting some new friends of mine. Kyle's very uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, I'm not that uncomfortable. Some of them are a little creepier than others.
Chris wasn't
Dolls, I don't
thrilled
know.
with it.
Dolls are one of them things that really I don't want to say trigger, but a lot of people get creeped out by dolls. I don't know if it's
Yes,
because it's like a almost like a caricature of like a human, and it's like
right. It
not
doesn't.
quite. It's
There's
just
something that doesn't just it doesn't
yeah.
feel right.
A lot of people
Um,
have that fear, and I think a lot of that goes back to like the culture behind
Well,
haunted
what's
objects, right? Mostly dolls, usually what it
yes,
is. The big one.
mostly dolls. I just got called dolls. Um, and I actually was afraid of dolls growing up. I used to get porcelain dolls as gifts when I was little, and would hide them in my closet. I didn't like
That one
them.
looks like she works out quite a lot there.
She's buff. She's
Yeah.
buff. I don't know her name. Maybe Helga. That seems like a
We'll
robust.
go with that.
I don't know where she's from. Um, this one gives me some feelings.
It's for me. The face is very blank.
Maybe that's it.
That's
She's got. I don't know
very.
what
What
part
is
of the
that?
world she's supposed to be in. It's like it's a two piece. So maybe like an Indian, like or somewhere from the Middle East
That
or
guy,
Asia.
Puppet Master, was the shit. It was.
I haven't seen that.
It's kind of like what you're holding right now. It's fine.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
just like
That's a Claudia. Okay. I think we one of I think Holly named her Selena. Um but again, so timing wise, age wise, I don't know when she was born. I'd love to have someone who's like an expert on antique dolls come let me know or take a look at them. But she's mostly, and she's heavy. She's pretty much all porcelain. Oh, hold on.
was made in China.
Made in Taiwan, Republic of China.
Hmm. Well, that could be older then, because I think Taiwan is
Yeah,
separate from
it
China.
is now.
So that could be relatively old. And we'd have to
Hmm.
do that. Could be an easily researched item right there.
It could be. I'm excited. This
But
is one.
you got a pretty good haul then of antique dolls. Which
Yep.
one do you think is the creepiest out of all of them? Yeah.
Her because her eyes closed.
Oh, they have the rollback
It's hard to
eyes.
see. Yeah. Her because her eyes closed. I want to date her at maybe somewhere in the 60s or 50s. She is plastic. Including her face. She is plastic. Her trip means
Right.
Antique Roadshow. Yeah. So that's this kind of got the topic started, right? I went to this antique barn. I got the feels. I talked to the owner, was super nice, and has invited me to come investigate.
And it's
So
an
it's
old
an
building, right?
old
Old
building, at
property.
least. Yeah, my dad was like, that building has to be, because he owns the house and the barn, um, and then just does the antique sales on Saturdays. And my dad was like, I think that's like a 200-year-old house. Um, yeah, so some very interesting vibes. Everyone stay tuned. Maybe we can work out um, some kind of a live investigation from there at some point. 'Cause I
Yeah.
kind of got an open invite from the guy. It was really nice. He was probably like, "Thank you for taking these dolls off my."
Yeah. He's like, these are great non-haunted dolls. Have
Yeah,
them.
right.
They're actually on sale this weekend.
Yeah. But I know of some people who are in the paranormal community who are also really into antiquing. And I think that it doesn't necessarily mean people are out there looking for haunted objects, right? I think that with the paranormal field, a lot of us have this in common. We're lovers of history,
Hmm.
old things, old,
Yes.
whether it's an old building, an old book. Um, and it was a passion of mine that I have always really had, but just kind of got reignited. Hey, Donna. I hope you're doing well, sweetie. Thank you for joining us.
I think
Um,
it goes into too, like most paranormal investigators like the unknown. And when you go
yeah.
into an antique store, you don't know what you're going to find. You don't know the history of each object, so it's kind of
Hmm.
almost kind of sort of an investigation on its own.
Yeah. In a way, it
Exploring.
is. Yeah. You're
Exploring.
searching,
Hmm.
right? Um,
That guy, that was pretty good.
no, I like it. Yeah, that guy's a fellow writer.
That's good.
Um, so
Let's do it.
yeah, I want to hear your story.
Oh, we're gonna jump right into it.
Do we want to get right into it, or should we talk about some of these more of like the fundamental haunted objects and our thoughts on what
Let's
they
do
are
the
before we share
fundamental
our story?
haunted
Okay.
objects. I want to leave them in suspense a little bit.
Okay. So let's start. I'm gonna see if I can just share my screen. Oop, Do I sound okay?
You sound great.
Okay.
You sound great.
I got scared for a second. Whoop. Um, and see if I can share
Screen.
this guy. Is this the one I want to start with? Yeah, let's start with him. Because I had never heard of this guy before. All right.
Okay.
Do you
Wow.
know who this is?
I do not, but it is creepy. I would not want that.
Does anyone in the chat know who this is? This
It-
fella over here.
It's throwing me Rumpelstiltskin vibes right now.
Ooh, yeah. I hadn't thought of that before. I'm getting that now.
But it doesn't look familiar.
All right. Well, this guy is called, and don't laugh at his name, Letta Me Out.
That's his name?
Letta, Letta, me, me, out, O-U-T.
Oh, that's good. Somebody 771KJC said Ichabod Crane. Yeah, I could see that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I see that too. So I'm going to actually just drop a link real quick. Letta Me Out has his own Facebook profile.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
All right.
So if anyone wants to follow him, I just dropped the
Now, what's the history on this
link.
one here?
Oops, I don't think that worked. Hold on, let me try one more time. Yeah, so I'm going to read the history, and while I'm at it, I'm going to drop a link for where I got this from. If anyone interested in all things paranormal enjoys our content, you will absolutely love Amy's Crypt. Have you heard of Amy's Crypt before?
I believe so.
She has her own vlog. Hey, T-Bell. She has her own vlog, which I just posted there. That's her website.
Okay.
And then she has a YouTube channel, which I did not post.
And is this her doll? Or is she...
No. So
Okay.
she travels the world, and so I don't know if she's so much a paranormal investigator as much as she goes to haunted locations and she writes articles.
Okay.
The locations, and they're really well written. And then she has some haunted dolls. She has a big collection of haunted dolls herself. So
Okay.
I believe she collects them for herself. So she's someone that I'd love to get in touch with at some point. I believe she's in the UK.
Okay. Maybe
but
we can have her on the show.
That would be awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely look out to her, because this, just so you know, you guys, this subject here, haunted objects, this is not a one-time show.
No, it's too big. There's too many different levels and different objects. It's a huge topic.
Yeah, so this will be a part of a series as well. I've already spoken with our Kara, who works with Get Haunted, who has a really incredible story about something at her house that I would love to have her on to interview for as well. And I want to hear from you guys. So anyone watching right now, anyone in the chat, contact me if you know me personally. Reach out on Messenger, Facebook Messenger. If you don't know how to get in touch with me personally, you can email us at hauntedtollbooth@gmail.com. It should be in our about section. But yeah, the more stories, the better. All right. No. But I would love to have Rob on to talk about that, because I think I know what you're talking about. I don't know how to pronounce that, so I'm not going to try.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I was really
so I'm not going to try.
I was like, I'm going to let Boston say that one.
Yeah. It's pretty easy, Donna. Just go to a vintage, I don't know what you call them over across the pond, but we call them antique sales, vintage sales, barn sales out this way. So I'm going to read this. It's kind of a long article, so I'm going to probably skim some parts, but Letta Me Out, again, this was written by Amy's Crypt. Letta Me Out is from Warwick, Australia.
Okay.
So don't worry, anyone that is feeling creepy vibes from this little guy here, unless you're in Australia.
He should be far enough away from most of us, but...
Right. So Letta Me Out is well known amongst the paranormal community as being one of the most haunted dolls in the world.
Wow,
So
I've never,
again,
I've
I
never heard of them.
expected everyone to be like, oh yeah, I know that guy. I've never heard of him. Well, the doll sports exaggerated facial features, giving it a wicked look that is off putting to many. This haunted doll may not be as bad as its evil appearance suggests. So, rest easy. This is a nice one. All right. So this is a really cool story of how it was found. So Letta's story can be traced to the small town of Wagga Wagga in rural South Wales, Australia. It was here during the 1970s that a young man by the name of Kerry Walton, and that's his current owner, Kerry Walton, decided to explore an abandoned house with his brother. The two men had always been inquisitive over the property, having heard countless stories of it being a haunted house as kids. It was within this house that Carrie was to make a shocking discovery. Underneath the floors of the decaying property, he spotted something sinister, which at first glance looked to be the body of a dead child. Upon closer inspection, Carrie had discovered a strange doll with a wicked grin. Carrie felt compelled to rescue the doll from beneath the house. It was on the long drive home to Brisbane that these brothers were to dub the doll Let Me Out, after making jokes that the doll appeared to be moving within the sack he was being transported inside of.
Okay. Um, wow. That's a lot. I'm not gonna lie. If I went to an abandoned house and found
And you
that
found
thing,
this guy?
hell no, I wouldn't take it home.
Okay. What? Oops. It doesn't look
That's
evil. It looks angry. There's a big difference. I don't think it looks evil either.
no, it's
Um,
just it to me it looks what's the word? I just lost it. Looks the opposite of playful. Mischievous is what it
mm-hmm.
looks like.
Yeah,
Yeah, not
mischievous.
I don't get the vibe that it's evil. I just see
Yeah,
mischievous.
same. So once him and his brother got this doll home, the family was understandably apprehensive towards the doll. Yet it was the strange activity to follow that really had them unsettled. So Letting Me Out would move around on its own record. Strange scuff marks apparently were left from the doll's shoes, like around the house.
Okay.
Um, some people had just like an aversion to the doll's presence, feeling sick, faint, overcome by emotion. Animals, namely dogs, would act strange around the doll too. I mean, I don't blame a dog to act strange around this little guy here. But dogs would try to bite and attack it. Um,
That
I
guy,
mean,
the same thing. When I first saw it, I just pictured the Leprechaun movie. The same thing.
yeah. Well, I'm going to show a picture in a second of it with a human, with Amy, actually. I believe I downloaded that photo so you can see how big it really is because it's huge.
Okay.
That is not like a little tiny doll chair. It's like the size of a child. Um, but basically, they took the doll once it's like weird stuff started happening
Uh-huh.
to experts to kind of like date the doll, and they were able to date it around 200 years old
Wow,
by
really? That old?
analyzing. By analyzing nails held under the doll's feet. It was also speculated that the doll had been handcrafted somewhere in Eastern Europe, likely Romania, judging by the doll's gypsy like appearance. Interestingly, the doll even has a full head of human hair.
Of course it does. I would have never guessed 200 years old. I would have thought maybe 100, but that's incredible.
Yeah,
And I
200.
mean, for being in an abandoned house, or where was they said they found it underneath the house?
Underneath an abandoned house that was known in the area to be haunted.
I mean, it looks it. I mean, for 200 years old, it looks really good. I
Yeah,
think. I mean,
I think, no,
especially
it's in
being
great
underneath the
shape.
house. Oh
Um,
no, here we go.
uh-oh. What happened?
Uh oh, did we make it mad from Australia?
I think I just have to present it again. I thought I could just change. So here's just one last picture of him.
Of
And this is him.
let me out, right? Or let me out.
Letta.
Let me
Letta
out. Let me
me
out.
out. I want to look that good with at that age. Yeah,
That's good.
same. All right. So this is Amy from Amy's Crypt, and she actually went to meet
Oh
the
my god,
doll.
it looks worse in that picture.
Yeah, its
Oh
hair's
my
down.
god.
But look how long it is. Or long.
It
I was
oh my
thinking of the
god.
hair, but look how big it is. It's like the size a
It
life like a child.
That's the that I want the other picture back. That's horrible. That thing looks even worse. It looks like its face. It looks like its face changed. It's not just me, right? Somebody in the in the chat, help me out. Like that doesn't even look like the same
Well,
doll.
you told me to take the picture down,
I'll put it back up now.
and
Yeah.
now you're like, okay, put it back up. Okay.
I wasn't. You got to prepare me for these kind of things.
I told you what it was gonna be of. What was that?
I don't know.
Okay, it was just my chapstick.
Okay.
Sorry, it happened over near my bin of
Haunted
friends
dolls.
here.
By your haunted dolls.
My bin of friends. All right, so there's Amy. It looks happy in that picture. I think it looks happy too.
Yeah,
I don't think it looks. I think it looks genuinely like, hey, it's me and my friends. Like,
Yeah. I don't know. You know my history with haunted objects, so I don't know.
I do.
It's something that I've never heard of before, so it's really cool.
The next story.
Oops. Okay, thank you. That guy agrees with me, so I feel better. He said you are correct. It looked like it was face morphing with the girl.
Oh my God. I don't like its hair down like that. Yeah. Smiling. Okay. He must like her. See, that's what I got. Was like it was a smile. It looked
again my initial vibe, and I don't claim to be psychic or whatever. It looked like mischievous. I didn't get an evil vibe off of him.
Yeah.
So all right. What else? What's next?
So the next one, and I'm not to dox anybody, but I know there may be people from the LA area in chat. I'm not going to dox
LA, Los Angeles. So we're going West Coast on this.
But have you ever heard of a haunted picnic table?
I'm sorry?
A haunted picnic table.
No, I have not. At all.
I hadn't either.
I'm assuming this is like a public park or something, or...
I'm really curious to know if somebody in the chat has heard of this picnic table.
Somebody says yes.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. So, this is...
It's crushed by a tree.
Yeah. This is the Haunted Picnic Table 29. Its location is in Griffith Park, Los Angeles.
Huh.
The details. Griffith Park is one of the most popular attractions within the city of Los Angeles. There's plenty to see and do within the park, including the famously haunted and I didn't know this was haunted either, Hollywood sign.
I did hear that. I think Ghost Adventures or one of those TV shows went to the Hollywood sign.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was they got some weird stuff, but yeah, I have heard that.
Oh.
And technically the Hollywood sign, right? That's an object.
Exactly. Right? Well, yeah, but it's more the ghost around. But yeah, technically it's an object. But anyways, it says this story isn't as happy as Letting Me Out. Okay, so that guy, you've heard of the park, but not the picnic table. All right.
Why is it so specific to this table?
So this is what's interesting, because you're like, why is that tree still on that table?
Yeah.
This happened in 1976.
That did?
And this is a current photo, yes.
What?
Plenty of dark deeds have taken place within the confines of Griffith Park. Crime, suicide, murders, and the disposal of bodies have all occurred on this supposedly cursed land. Yet one inconspicuous site has managed to gain notoriety within California's paranormal community: a simple picnic table. So it was on Halloween night of 1976 that tragedy gripped this ordinary picnic table. And again, this is legend.
Okay.
Legend has it that a young couple named Nancy and Rand were getting quite heated atop the table when a nearby tree's branch snapped and fell. The branch fell onto the couple, crushing them to their deaths. Following the tragedy, the young couple's ashes were sprinkled at the site so they could remain there together in death forever. Attempts were made to remove the tree branch from the now destroyed bench, yet something supernatural may have intervened to prevent the cleanup. Supposedly, a council worker had an interaction with something unexplained that told him to leave us alone in a ghostly voice, which shook the tree. This understandably spooked him so much that he left the area without tempting fate and removing the tree branch. He later told his boss about the incident and wasn't taken seriously. His supervisor then went to finish the job himself, yet was found dead the next day at the site of the bench, supposed having died of a heart attack. These stories have been solidified into LA folklore, with many visiting the bench at night out of curiosity. Plenty of those who have visited have claimed to pick up on some kind of evidence of the paranormal.
Okay, so this is all legend, though.
This goes back to, yeah, we don't know how much of that story is fact, but there has been paranormal around this tree and around this picnic table. It has been evidence of paranormal activity happening, but we don't know if the origins of that story are true because they're legend or folklore.
This is a first for me. I've never heard of a haunted picnic table, but again, maybe the picnic table is just coincidence in this story, and it's more the land around it, and it just happens to be centered around this crushed table.
Well, it is interesting that crushed table has been there, and the tree hasn't come off it, and the park hasn't done anything about it since 1976.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it makes you wonder why. Oh, you're gonna go check it out?
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy.
That guy. Yeah, tell my wife I liked her. That you liked her.
I always liked like those kind of, because that's kind of like it borderlines on urban legend too, right? Like that story, like where's the truth? It had to start somewhere, like
exactly,
like some bit of truth or something. So that's cool though.
Well, and I think a lot of these stories that I was able to find, a lot of it does like there's a story behind it, there's history behind it, there's facts, but there's something that when it becomes haunted or scary, it becomes legend, an urban legend or folklore. And I don't know if those are words that people just use to make themselves feel better about it, or if it means this is just story passed on by mouth, of course, and hasn't been written down. It's not facts.
Stacy is over here with some jokes.
Well, so they came. Oh my god.
We need the the drum roll thing. We need to
that was a good one.
That next. That's a good one, Stacy.
That was a good one.
All right.
So moving on, we only have 2 more to talk about before we can dive into your stories. So moving on, we've got oh, and I'm sorry. That story came from Amy's. I just always want to make sure I'm crediting people. That story came from Amy's Crepes blog as well.
Cool.
The website that I dropped in chat.
And this is why this topic is going to be another show, because there's just so many.
There's too many.
It's crazy, but it's awesome. I've never heard about these 2. I've never heard about so far, so this is cool.
So Robert the Doll.
Okay, we've heard about Robert the Doll.
Everyone but me. I heard about Robert the Doll like
yesterday.
I want to say a little less than a month ago.
Really?
Yeah. And so he is currently located at the Fort East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida. And this is a really interesting story. And again, for people that already know the story, I apologize. But if there's anybody watching replay or in chat watching live now and you have not heard about Robert the Doll, I'm just going to give a little background on him.
Hey, it's kind of a cool story. I like this one. I don't know why.
I like this one too. Here he is. Okay. Oops.
And I believe I'm pretty sure Ghost Adventures investigated the doll too.
Really? Yeah, I think a few. So this, what I'm going to read now comes from the Ghosts and Gravestones website.
Okay.
And they do, I think they book like tickets and stuff, because I've used them for like a ghost tour in Salem. Like they do more like tourist type of tours.
Like ghost walks and like haunted stuff.
But they like tell you the ones to go to like all over the country. And then they do like some pretty good write-ups, in my opinion, on different haunted locations and different haunted objects. So Robert the Doll, Fort East Martello Museum, Key West, Florida. That's him in his little sailor outfit. And is that supposed to be a dog?
I think it's supposed to be a dog.
Okay. On his lap in a nice little chair. So the story of Robert the Doll dates back to the early 1900s when a young boy named Eugene Robert Otto was given a one-of-a-kind handmade doll by a servant that worked for his parents in his home. Eugene, who everyone called Gene, named the doll Robert and quickly became attached to his new friend. Because who wouldn't? Honestly, he looks the least creepy to me. And maybe it's because I just found out about this story, but out of most the
I
more
agree.
well known, doesn't he look more inviting?
Yeah, he doesn't. You don't get like he looks old, like
Right.
antique, like early 1900s. That's what I would think. And but he doesn't look like creepy. He just looks old. And he looks.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie. He looks quite comfortable sitting there. I
He
mean, he
does.
looks like
He does
he's.
look comfortable. Um, he doesn't have the nicest story though, as I'm sure you're already aware.
Yes.
Well, he seemed like an ordinary cloth doll. It wasn't long before Robert was involved in strange and somewhat terrifying events. The first hint that something out of the ordinary was happening was one night when Jean, who was only 10 years old, awoke to find Robert the doll sitting at the end of his bed staring at him. Moments later, his mother was awakened by his screams for help and the sounds of furniture. I'm going to say that again, furniture being overturned in her son's bedroom. Jean cried for help, begging his mother to rescue him. When she finally was able to wrench the locked door open, she saw poor Jean curled up in fear on his bed, his room in shambles, and Robert the doll sitting at the foot of the bed. Robert did it were the only words Jean could get out. The same words he would later use many times throughout his childhood when something strange, mysterious, or destructive would happen. Did Robert do it? Nobody knows for sure why or how this child's plaything could actually wreak havoc on a child's bedroom or do anything at all. After all, it's just a toy, right? But the weird and inexplicable didn't stop at that one occurrence. Jean's parents would often hear their son upstairs talking to the doll and getting a response back in a totally different voice.
Oh.
That reminds me of another haunting, famous haunting.
Hmm.
Um, they reported seeing the doll speak and witnessing his expression change. So the parents even reported seeing the doll talking and witnessing the expression on the doll's face change. Giggling and sightings of Robert running up the steps, that would creep me out the most.
Yeah.
Or staring out the upstairs window were also reported. Robert continued to live with Jean throughout his lifetime. After Jean's parents died, he moved back into their home with his wife Anne. Jean decided that the doll needed a room of his own. No kidding. And placed him in the upstairs room that had a window overlooking the street. Anne felt uneasy with Robert in the house. Again, no kidding. But she couldn't quite put her finger on it. She wanted Jean to lock the doll up in the attic where he could do no harm. So he conceded. But the doll was not happy with his new digs. Soon visitors to the home heard footsteps. See, what's funny is I put these guys in the garage last night for the first time because they smell like mothballs and it was starting to stink up the living
And you
room.
woke up and they were staring at you this morning?
No, but when I put them in the garage, I was like, I don't know if they're going to be happy with that.
Well,
But then I thought, like, they've been living for how long in an old
yeah, and
barn?
here's the thing. Like, not all dolls are haunted. So
Exactly.
you could
None of
have really
these-
old, creepy looking dolls that aren't haunted. It could be.
right. So
Or they all could be haunted. We don't know.
we don't know. I mean, I've been talking to them with dowsing rods. I also not well. I'll say that I haven't been doing well. I also had pretty much every tool you could think of out here trying to get something from them. I think what we need to do, maybe the next episode that we do haunted objects, is get some suggestions, and you can give me some suggestions too on what can we do to try to see if there's anything here in any of these guys. EVP sessions, maybe.
Yeah, we can try something. All right. So Robert the doll.
Yeah, sorry. Going back to Robert. This story was a little longer, and I was reading it last night, like, what? Because I had heard of him, but I hadn't read his whole thing. Jean. Okay, so the wife's like, yeah, it's a little weird. You still like hang out with this doll, dude. We're married.
Yeah.
put him in the attic. Soon, visitors to the home heard footsteps in the attic, the sounds of someone pacing back and forth, and devilish giggling. Neighborhood children reported seeing Robert watching them from the window in the upstairs bedroom and told accounts of the doll actually mocking them as they walked to school. When Gene heard this, he immediately went to investigate, because that's a smart idea. Knowing that he had locked Robert in the attic and there was no way he could be sitting by the window of the upstairs bedroom. Okay, I'm sorry, but at this point, Gene, at this point in your life,
it's been your entire life this thing's been messing with you. We're not messing with you, but
right?
been moving around when it shouldn't have been at minimum. I think
Yeah.
it's time to.
So all this is saying basically is that he went up there and to his shock, there was Robert. Oh no. There was Robert sitting in the rocking chair by the window.
No.
When he opened the door to the bedroom. Oh, okay. So he had locked Robert up in the attic, and then kids and neighbors said this doll's like mocking them and staring at them from the bedroom window. He went up to the bedroom window, and to his shock, Robert wasn't locked in the attic anymore. He was down sitting in the rocking chair by the window.
No.
Cool. Yeah, so the story doesn't end here with Gene. Gene Otto died in 1974. Rest in peace. And when a new owner moved into the house on Eaton Street, their 10-year-old daughter was delighted to find Robert the doll in the attic. Please, people, please, if you have a haunted object on you,
make sure you leave that shit in your
put
will.
like instructions, yeah, or leave
like
a note
like, hey, the doll in the attic is probably haunted.
Yeah, like you don't want to.
A little disclaimer on that would be
just
great.
Something.
Just in case somebody else comes in and may not want a haunted doll. Just let them know.
Yeah.
Save them some trouble. Please.
Yeah, so bad things happened with this girl too. Her delight ended soon. Oh God, I don't know, I just laughed. It was an uncomfortable laugh. But her delight ended soon when she claimed that Robert was alive and that the doll wanted to hurt her.
Okay. God.
So yeah, the doll was given away and now lives happily ever after in East Martello Fort, where visitors from all over the world can go see him in Key West, Florida.
So they had to put him in a fort.
Yeah, well, and he's in a glass case. So much like Annabelle, Robert the doll sits inside a glass case, but it doesn't seem to stop him from inflicting fear and discomfort to museum staff and visitors.
Wow. And again, for me, least creepy looking, least creepy vibes. But maybe maybe that was the whole ploy of this. Whatever.
You never know.
I don't know.
This one will be really short. Sorry, I didn't realize how long these each were. I know it can be a little boring, especially if you've already heard of it. But this one is a very famous one and one that I had always heard about a curse. I'm just going to share it. What is that?
It's a picture of a lady?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, the thing around her neck, right?
Yes.
What is it?
Do you know what it is? No. That's the Hope Diamond.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
The Hope Diamond is a haunted object, potentially?
Mm-hmm. Potentially. It's currently located in the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the most famous diamonds in the world.
Yes.
Obviously.
It probably is, right? The most famous. Can't think of any other one.
I can't think of a more famous one, yeah. And it says, although many have speculated that reports of a curse are simple efforts to increase the object's air of mystery, let's indulge a bit, shall we? This comes from Photo's 7 Curse Objects Around the World, and actually I'm going to drop this link because it's a really good article. Whoops.
This is another one I've known about the Hope Diamond, but I never was associated with any kind of, potentially attachments or haunted objects.
Yeah.
With the Hope Diamond. That's interesting. See, there's so many we don't even know yet.
Kicked off a string of upsetting. Okay. So, in its earliest form, the diamond, which was most likely cut from a mine in India, is said to have been stolen from a statue. The thief was subjected to an extremely unfortunate death. This kicked off what seemed to be a string of upsetting fates for many of the individuals who owned or even touched it over the years. I don't know how to say this name. Jacques Collette. Jacques Collette.
Okay.
Died by suicide.
All right.
Princess de Lamballe was killed in a massacre in the French Revolution, and merchant Jean Le Tavernier was mauled by wild dogs, just to name a few. You can breathe a sigh of relief, though, because since Henry Winston donated the diamond to the Smithsonian in 1958, the alleged curse seems to have abated.
Huh.
So, this is one of those objects I wanted to include because, again, a little bit of folklore.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, lots of unfortunate, but you hear that. And people are very quick, I think, to put the word curse on things. And I wonder if and why haunted objects and cursed objects are two different things. Or are they
Well,
the same?
yeah. Are they the same? Or are they in the same, you know, classification of haunted stuff? They kind of intermix sometimes. Because I think there could be haunted objects that are also cursed,
I
right?
agree with that. Are there cursed objects and cursed objects that are also haunted? But is a cursed object just something that the people that tend to own it, or
Yeah.
in this case touch it, just hoard coincidences? You
Yeah,
know,
that could be a whole topic on itself. See, we've come up with another
I
another
know we
show
always do
right
this to
now.
ourselves. We always do this to
Curse.
ourselves. And then of course the last one. I'm just gonna show it because
I don't even think we need to talk about this one really.
I don't think we need to talk about it at all. But let's just show a real quick picture of our friend
It's not our friend.
Annabelle. Can't get that to be
There it
anything.
is, Annabelle, the famous, probably most recognizable, most, I guess you could say, famous haunted object out there, I would think.
Yeah. I think the movies, of course,
Yes.
definitely added to that. Um, but yeah, I don't think we even need to go into
No.
any detail on her. What I am more curious about is your story.
So, my story. This is going to be a
Let
long
me
story.
see. Let me see. Let me see. I thought
Oh,
I
do you
saved it.
do you actually have it?
Do you want me to show it?
Yeah, I don't care. It's not
Okay.
around anymore, so it's fine.
I don't have it saved, so give me 1 second to just. I thought I did. You start the story,
Okay. So,
and I'll put it up when I find it.
my story with a haunted object is, and again, I'm still very, I guess, scientifically based and very skeptical. So, you know, I didn't necessarily disbelieve in haunted objects, but, it's something I would have had to experience to go, okay, well, that's legit. Because, like, there's so many stories around these haunted objects. So I did get my experience. I didn't want it, but it happened. So, I'm associated with White Hill Mansion. We're a haunted location. So we had a team reach out to us. Um, and they said, "Do you guys take haunted objects?" And we are like, "Not really." And they're like, "Well, we have this mirror. There's nothing bad with it, but we just the people's house who it was in, they just didn't want it around anymore." And we're
Right,
like,
and we don't either.
so I don't know how the full story, how basically it came to White Hill, right? And I just had a bad feeling. I was like, yeah, I don't know about this, right? So we didn't get a lot of the information, which was weird. Um, but nevertheless, the mirror came to our location. Um, and it came on a Friday, and we had two public ghost hunts that weekend. And there was a lot of people, and it was weird activity all night. One of the investigators, when I came at the end of the night, was like, "Yeah, we were in the attic, we were walking down, and he was like, yeah, we kept having this name come up, and then he just stopped talking." And I remember walking down the attic steps, and I got like a little confused, which is weird because I'm not psychic really or sensitive or claim to be, and I was just like, "What are we talking about?" Like I got confused, and that was the first time it ever happened. So then we came down to the second story, and I was like, "Okay, what were we talking about?" He was like, "Yeah, we kept getting this name across all of our devices through EVPs, through spirit boxes, through pretty much all the apps you can have. Ovilus is every. It was the same name over and over again." He's like, I can't remember the name," and he was getting confused. And I know this investigator, and he's very, not like that at all.
Yeah.
Uh, and I remember I just had this internal monologue in my head, and I'm like, he's going to tell me this name, and I knew the name, and I said it in my head, and then he goes, "Yeah, it's this guy." Boom, and he says his name, and I'm like, "Okay, that was weird." They had all kinds of crazy activity that is unlike what White Hill had. So I'm like, okay, maybe it was just a weird group of people, and everyone had a great time, whatever. So a couple weeks have gone by with said object. Did I even say what it was? I didn't say what it was yet. Okay, so um, this object's in the mansion, and I would go in there and I would unplug.
Are you gonna say what it is?
I might have said what it is. It was a mirror.
I don't think you said. Okay.
It was a mirror, right? So,
and I'm trying
in
to
the
look
mansion,
for, trying to figure out how to
activity
show it.
is bizarre with me. Like I go in there, and when I leave the mansion, I unplug everything, turn all the lights off, unplug everything that I can from the wall outlets, just because fire hazard, safety, and whatnot. So I would come in the following day or whenever, and no one would be in the house. I'd be the first one in there, and lights are plugged in and turned on. I see. I did say it was a mirror. Okay, good. So stuff. I'm like, okay. You're talking funny, Boston. Yeah, so I would unplug these things, and I'd come in, they'd be plugged in. I would be moving stuff around, and I'd have specific places where I would put things. So all the other volunteers who would come in when I wasn't there would know where they were, and I'd pick them up, I'd put them where they were, I'd walk away, come back in the room, and it would be on another end of the table. And I'm like, okay, this is really weird activity. Like all kinds of non-typical stuff that would happen at White Hill Mansion, which was, typical haunting. So it all seemed to kind of not center around me. Other people had experiences, but it seemed to, I don't know why it wanted to mess with me or try to communicate with me. I don't know what it was trying to do. And I don't know if it was evil. I don't think, there it is, right? The most unassuming mirror. It doesn't look like it's old. It looks like something, that you just get at a modern store or whatnot. So basically what happened one day, the ending of this story, to wrap it up, just crazy activity that I was just like, okay, something is different. It's just, everything is escalated activity wise. Like it amped up, I guess you could say, the atmosphere of the house. So basically one day I went in there to do something during the day, and my wife came with me, and we walked in there, and I felt it. It was a little weird. I'm like, okay, whatever, we'll just get this done and get out of here. And I was doing something, and I was watching her, and she wasn't acting herself. And she got like really angry at me for no reason really quick, which is not in her nature. So I was like, okay, it's time to leave. So we got in my truck and we pulled away, and I'm like, we'll just get out of here for a while, whatever's happening. So we're going down the driveway, and I can just feel something in the car. Like, I don't know. I'm just like, okay, this is really weird. And she was still feeling a little weird. And then all of a sudden she said she felt like two hands come down her back. And then it kind of released. And I felt the heaviness of the car leave. And then that was it. And I was like, okay, the mirror has to go. So we had someone who's very knowledgeable in haunted objects come, do the little thing, and take the mirror out. And everything went back to normal. Everything was back to the normal hauntings of White Hill. And for me, I was like, okay, I don't like mirrors anymore. And I do believe in haunted objects.
Understandably.
Looking back on it, like the people, I did finally reach out to the people who gave us this mirror, and I don't think they gave us the whole story. They said whatever was attached to it was mischievous. But I think, looking back at my experiences, I think whoever or whatever was attached to that mirror, I don't think it was evil. I think it had something to say or try to get across, but it was just very, very intense.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in your face, and I was like, okay, we can help. Yeah, it was probably some of the most incredible, like, as a paranormal investigator, when stuff starts moving, like that's crazy. That doesn't happen all the time. And it was happening on a regular basis. So I don't know the whole story with the mirror. I don't think I'll ever know, but it was an experience that I was like, okay, this is This is crazy.
The fact that it was. Do I sound normal?
Yes, you sound normal.
Okay. And yes, you guys aren't going crazy. I think I had a setting. I have like a thing on my mic, and I think I accidentally clicked. I'll have to go back and listen, but I think I accidentally clicked a setting that like I have like alien and robot and like all of those different voices on there. Um, so I think you made the right choice. This was the second time I heard your story. And I'm sorry I was distracted at the beginning because I wanted to make sure people could see this photo.
No, it's okay.
Um,
No,
the
it's a crazy story, and like I didn't probably give it that good a justice because it happened over probably a month or two time span, so it was pretty quick for the paranormal, but it wasn't like the thing was in there the weekend and like everything went crazy.
Yeah, no, it was a long, but you knew. I think the fact that you knew that there was something different
Yes,
and that you felt it from this very unassuming mirror. Um,
exactly. Is that your chapstick again? Please tell me that is.
yeah, I'm just getting starting to feel creeped out. I'm not gonna lie. Um,
But yeah, it wasn't. It didn't. It didn't. It wasn't anything like at the time. I didn't understand it, and I think it also was a very good learning and experience for me within the paranormal because whatever it was, a portal, somebody attached to this mirror, something mischievous, it wasn't trying to hurt anyone. It was either one, two things. It was either just having fun and messing with people, or it
mhm,
was trying to communicate something, and that was the only way it knew how. But
mhm.
it was intense for me personally. Um, and even for a guest because I think it also had an effect on the normal spirits of the house. I think they didn't know what to do because even their activity increased also. Like people were having more reports of stuff. So it just
And I've
didn't
heard of that too. I've
it
heard of
didn't
that.
fit. Like I don't think it didn't fit well within
Mhm,
that environment. Now I know there's other locations like the Shanley Hotel. They take a lot of haunted objects and they have haunted objects, and it seems to intermix there.
mhm.
But again, it's that's what's really unique about the paranormal. For this, it didn't really fit where I was, and it just was.
It just felt. It didn't feel right.
It didn't feel right. It was just it was very intense, very intense.
Okay, Amber. Actually, I think we are leaving soon or ending this soon. But thank you so much for coming. Yeah, from what I am getting is that there are a lot of people that are in our chat that have had some crazy experiences, man.
Yeah,
Um, Haunted object or not. Um, okay, so Amber's story, it looks like dark magic, messed with dark magic in her early teen years, literally became possessed. It was horrible. Her eyes turned black. Wow. Um, so as far as a haunted object goes, in a cursed object, again, I want to really know the difference and if there is a difference because I think like Kyle's story, for instance, it picked up the activity, right? And then Kyle obviously Kyle and his wife had a very uncomfortable situation happen. And I believe that anytime there's a big link between the paranormal, um I don't know if I'd call it a link, but when people think of being haunted, right? And because
hmm,
people can be haunted,
yes,
houses can be haunted,
yep,
objects can be haunted. I
yep,
think everything has energy, everything can be haunted, is the
yep.
way I look at it.
Yeah, it's just why do certain, like for example, this normal looking
Mm-hmm.
modern mirror, like you would think when people think, oh, a haunted mirror, they picture like a mirror that was in Count Dracula's house, like this
Right.
big
No, that's what I
old
was picturing when
looking,
you first told me
creepy
the
looking
story. You're like,
thing.
no, you could. It looks like a mirror you could get at Walmart or something.
And
Um.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm still a little skeptical, but I experienced it because like it's a hard line for me because like I've got the paranormal stuff that I've experienced, but then I've got like the real basics of things, right? I'm like, well, how is this piece of fake wood and mirrored glass actually holding on to something, or
Right.
like, how does that work? But then I experience it, so I'm like, well, it's real because I experienced it. So it's
Hmm.
like it's a double-edged sword for me, and it's sometimes it's I don't know, it's
I
just
don't think it's just for you. I think it's for a lot of people in this paranormal world. I think there's always that battle between like logic and the
yeah.
paranormal, because
I
the
mean, I guess
paranormal,
that
let's be blunt, it's not a logical, it's not
yeah,
what people are used to. It's hard to just believe in something and not be skeptical. I think there's a um kind of this bias that happens where people just assume like paranormal investigators,
yeah,
like it means you believe in everything, you just blind faith, like yep. No,
yeah, and
you're most paranormal investigators I know are at least 50%, if not more, skeptical.
yes, I think you
It's a
have to be.
constant, you have to be able to debunk things that are very well, could just very well be in your head. You have to be able to um but at the same time, you also, there has to be a part of yourself that is a believer,
Yes,
or that is at least open-minded enough to accept
exactly.
that all the answers aren't there, and that part of you has to have some kind of a faith, and which is hard for me. I've never been a religious person, so faith or just like believing in something is extremely hard for me. um but
Yeah, I
there's
mean, how
also
I've
things that have happened where I'm like, I can't deny this.
exactly,
I
and that's
can't
kind of
deny it.
that's how I investigate it, and that's how I came to the conclusion, overall with this mirror, because like I eliminated everything that was logical.
Hmm.
Like, there's no way somebody's coming in here and plugging these lamps and turning them back in. There's no way.
Right.
The only thing that has changed is this mirror. And like once you get past, and that's how I investigate. Like I try to eliminate everything that's logical or possible, and when there's nothing left, I mean, what is it? It has to be something paranormal, something that I don't understand. So maybe that's how we look at
Yeah.
haunted objects, right? And how do we determine an object is haunted, right? Like
Right.
Robert the doll, how do we determine it? Well, when you lock it in the attic and you come back, it's a
And
process
why?
of elimination.
Yeah, here's another example. Let me grab Sophia, I think is her official name.
So Stacy says mirrors since ancient Egypt have been the focus
Yeah.
of hauntings and cursings. Yeah, definitely heard that.
So why would someone look at this? Hold on, you guys are gonna laugh, right? And then someone look at this. This is a electric
Drill.
screwdriver
Yeah.
drill, and we would automatically say she's haunted, right?
Yes.
Because what is it? Because she's creepy to look at.
I think it has something to go back with like the human psyche. That's something
Mm-hmm.
that looks human, but size is smaller and its features aren't quite human, but we recognize it as human. I think that's why we get creeped out. I think we're wired sometimes to see, okay, it's humanoid, or it's a character. It's in the character of a human.
I agree. I agree with that completely. But with that being said, I think that what you just described is that feeling of uncomfortableness,
Hmm.
aka like a feeling of fear that people get with old dolls, right? So why is it that, is it just a coincidence that an object that brings you fear or uncomfortableness is also one that tends to be objects that are more commonly haunted?
Yeah.
Does that go hand in hand? That is fear, um or uncomfortableness, kind of this hidden ingredient
Hmm.
that is needed for that veil to kind of thin a little bit.
Yeah. Maybe that's a good point. I
Because
do like.
I've thought about that quite a lot, like that, the experience of fear, and why are people afraid, and why are some people tell you that, paranormal investigators, they go and investigate all the time and they're not scared to know ghosts and nothing creeps them out, and basements aren't creepy and this isn't creepy and this isn't creepy. But there's still I don't care what anyone says, there's still a part of you that has this kind of, whether it's the word fear or just this uncomfortableness
Yes.
when you're investigating. There's a part of you, it's an excitement. I don't know what it is, but it's something that I think when it's produced in the human body does help eliminate the veil,
I get what you're saying.
or at least
Yeah, I know what you
parts
mean.
of the veil, you know, make it clearer to see the other side or to connect with the other side or
Yeah,
to see an object that potentially has a connection.
yeah,
There's a lot more questions. I mean,
yeah.
and
There's a
that's
lot, so many theories on this, and the great thing is,
yeah,
like, I don't know if we'll ever know the answer to these, but I do like,
probably not, but
when-
they're fun to debate and to
yes,
discuss. And um that was like question number one. I
yeah,
did a YouTube short for this live that we're having tonight, and I think there was like 6 questions on there. um I hope nobody came here expecting that we're going to have the answers to those
no,
because I will never.
we have
um
more questions now. And I
exactly.
mean, for me personally, I still question, and I'm not gonna lie, the name comes up still to this day that is associated with this mirror. So I don't
Hmm.
know. And when it comes up, it's never in a, a dark or a scary.
Yeah.
It comes up, and I'm still trying to figure out,
And you
is
keep this
is
name, I'm assuming, do you keep this name private so that people don't come to White Hill and have this preconceived
yeah,
notion
I
of a
mean, not
name?
so much. Yeah,
It's more like you
this is
want to
like,
see if someone naturally brings up the name.
yeah, and
Because,
it's weird because the name has come up. It's a male name, and it's come up at other locations also. It's not
mm-hmm,
just isolated to White Hill. It comes up there a lot, but it always seems to be. I think it's around with me. I mean, I don't know.
mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I recommend to anybody who is considering starting up their own investigations or going on some investigations with, like Get Haunted, for instance, coming to a Get Haunted event. I recommend that if there is a name that comes up when you're investigating, hold that information close to you. Don't tell a lot of people about this name. And then as you continue throughout your investigations, see if it continues coming up. Um, and the only reason I say don't tell a lot of people about that name is because I do believe that if you're telling other people and then you go on an investigation with other people, subconsciously people could think that they heard a name when it, you know what I mean? We want it to be
Mm,
authentic as possible. Because I have a name like that myself that I get a lot, and only 3 people know about it.
yeah, and I
Um,
don't. And what does that mean? That's a whole nother thing. Like, what does that mean? We don't know.
yeah, I don't know. I don't
Is it
know.
just random? But
Um, T-Bell, I'm sorry for your loss, sweetie. That must have been hard as a child. I just want to read this comment here. I had gotten a porcelain doll for my mom. It got broken. She passed when I was little, and it reappeared when I was 14
oh,
slash
wow,
13. So every night, I would have it on my dresser and turn it at night so it wasn't looking at me. And in the morning, I would find it turned back around.
that's creepy.
Yep, and I would do the same thing, T-Bell. I don't know if you were here earlier at the beginning of the live, but I said, this box here full of new friends that I have is a far stretch from little Boston, who was in her room and would turn her dolls away so they weren't looking at her, or would hide them in her closet because they terrified her. Um, but yeah, no, I believe it. Man, this I did expect those answers, Boston. Sorry, Tim, we don't know
Yeah,
the answers. But no, there's still so many questions and so much more discussion to be had, and so many people with their own stories, their own thoughts on, we want to hear people's haunted object stories, such as this mirror. Sorry, Kyle, you've probably been like, fun to look at that this whole
yeah,
time.
it's great.
We
Thanks.
want to hear more stories of your own objects that you think may be haunted, but we also want to hear more from everybody's kind of thoughts and opinions on how. I want to know how it happens, why certain objects and not others. Um, if an object is haunted, does it mean it's haunted for perpetuity, or does it unhaunt at
Yeah,
some point? Can you cleanse an object to get it unhaunted? I don't know. So there's definitely a series that I think we're gonna come maybe do like once a month, a haunted object stream.
yeah.
Um,
Be a good, maybe a panel too. Never know.
Well, and I'm going back to that barn.
Yeah.
I'm going back to that barn. So, yeah, keep an eye out, guys, because hopefully I can bring you all with me to this barn where I found my new friends. Maybe I'll bring a few of them back with me and see if there's any kind of anything that gets stirred up just from an object. Not saying they're haunted, but just from an object that I took out of a potentially haunted location, bringing it back into it. I wonder what that would do. You definitely can cleanse an object. It's a good discussion. Awesome. Well, I would love to talk about that someday for sure. Maybe we could have you up at some point, T-Bell. No, not the killer. No, not
No,
the serial
not
killer barn. All right, guys. Well, we've gone past. It is past. Not my bedtime. Kyle's bedtime.
it's getting close.
So yeah, I'll be up for like 8 more hours. But it's been a really fun discussion, very interactive tonight, and I really appreciate everyone that came by and talked with us about this. Thank you so much, Kyle, for sharing your story.
No problem. Yeah, it's crazy. This is a great topic, and it was fun. I learned a lot. I didn't know about haunted picnic benches and little leprechaun looking guy, so it was good.
It's let me out.
Yeah.
And you go like this when you say it, let me out.
Yeah, I would have let him right out of the back of the car if he was moving around in a bag.
Yeah,
Sure.
I know. Don't apologize, Donna. No one ever apologized when you're late. I mean, we could just keep talking and talking and talking, and as if people pop in at any time and you got something to say or something you want to add, like please feel free. I know a lot of people watch and don't engage in the chat either, and they just like to watch it live. So, and anyone repeat watching, again, if anybody has personal stories. I can't see what that emoji is. It says face turquoise covering eyes.
And don't forget
StreamYard doesn't show you.
if you haven't yet, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the little
Yes, please.
like button, please.
Thank you. We appreciate the support. Melissa Jade. I just love when it pops up and you don't know what the emoji is. Pretty much sums it up. Okay. Face turquoise covering eyes. But again, thank you everybody for joining.
Thank you.
If you have your own stories or you potentially want us to discuss it, we even can discuss a story anonymously if people don't feel comfortable saying, hey, this is my haunted story. Email us at hauntedtollbooth@gmail.com, hauntedtollbooth@gmail.com, and that is in the channel's bio as well. All right.
All right, everyone. We'll see you
haunted
next
night,
week.
everybody. See you next week.